Who should not make this Team USA team? The GOAT, Caitlin Clark, should be the starting point guard. Duh, the best thing that ever did it. Caitlin Clark starting at point guard.
For 30 years, the United States women's national team hasn't just won, they have crushed the will of opponents. They were the inevitable, unstoppable force of nature. 61 consecutive Olympic wins, 7 straight gold medals. The margins of victory were usually so wide you could drive a tour bus through them, winning by 30, 40, sometimes 50 points. But on a humid Sunday in Paris, inside the Bercy Arena, the Dynasty didn't look like a machine. It looked old. It looked slow. And with 1 second left on the clock, it looked like it was about to die. France had the ball. The United States was clinging to a 1-point lead, 67-66. The French star Gabby Williams, a player the US knows very well, caught a pass on the run. She didn't hesitate. She threw up a desperation heave as the buzzer sounded. The ball banked in. The arena exploded. For a singular terrifying moment, the world believed the streak was over. It looked like a buzzer-beating three-pointer to send the game into overtime, where the momentum would have been entirely with the French. But then the officials looked at the floor. Gabby Williams' foot, her toe, was on the line. It wasn't a 3, it was a 2. Team USA won by a single point. A single point. The closest Olympic final in their history. The Dynasty was saved not by dominance, not by superior strategy, but by a matter of inches and the geometry of a painted line on a court in Paris. While the players celebrated the 8th gold medal, the rest of the world saw something different. We saw the cracks in the armor. We saw a team that had relied on reputation and legacy for too long, nearly getting run off the floor by a younger, hungrier, faster opponent. And hanging over the entire near disaster was the ghost of the player who wasn't there, the player who changed the economic reality of the sport in 6 months, the player whose absence sparked a culture war, a media firestorm, and a lingering question that won't go away. What if Team USA had just brought Caitlin Clark? Today, we are going deep. We are peeling back the layers of the 2024 Olympic roster controversy. We're going to look at the numbers the WNBA doesn't want to talk about, the decline of the legends we love, and the veterans-be-damned future that is coming for USA basketball, whether they like it or not. This is the story of how the old guard held the line, but why the revolution is already here. Let's rewind to June 2024. The WNBA is in the middle of the most explosive growth period in its history. Arenas are selling out. TV ratings are up 300% for Indiana Fever games. And the news drops that Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation, the driving force behind this entire boom, has been left off the Olympic roster. Now officially, the reasons given were basketball reasons, experience, defense, chemistry. The selection committee talked about how hard it is to integrate a rookie into a system that requires precision and familiarity. They pointed to the fact that Clark missed the training camp in April because she was busy leading Iowa to the national championship game. And sure, on paper that makes sense. But let's be real with each other. This is Team USA. They could have integrated Clark. They have integrated rookies before. Diana Taurasi, Candace Parker, Breanna Stewart. All of them played in the Olympics as rookies. So what was the real reason? According to reporting by Christine Brennan of USA Today, there was a much more uncomfortable truth lurking in the background. Brennan's sources, insiders with decades of experience in the women's game, revealed that a major factor in the decision was the fear of fan backlash. Think about that for a second. The concern wasn't just about Clark's pick-and-roll defense or her turnover rate. The concern was about you, the fans. The worry was that if Caitlin Clark made the team but sat on the bench, which is typical for a rookie on a stacked roster, her millions of new fans would revolt. They feared the narrative would shift from Team USA goes for gold to why isn't Caitlin playing? The noise would be too much for the veterans to handle. This is an extraordinary admission. It suggests that the leadership of USA Basketball was more afraid of the marketing implications of Clark than they were confident in their ability to manage a team. It implies a fragility in the old guard that these multi-time gold medalists, who have seen everything in the sport, would somehow be derailed because people on Twitter were asking for the rookie to get some run. Brennan wrote that if true, that would be an extraordinary admission of the existence of real tension that the old guard of women's basketball harbors for this multi-million-dollar sensation. And tension is the key word here. You could feel it all season. The hard fouls, the dismissive comments, the sense that Clark hadn't paid her dues yet. The Olympic snub was the ultimate manifestation of that tension. It was the establishment saying, "We are fine without you. We built this. Wait your turn." But as we saw in Paris, they almost weren't fine without her. The irony is palpable. They left her home to avoid a distraction, but her absence became the biggest distraction of the entire tournament. Every time the US offense stalled, every time the guards couldn't create separation, the question hung in the air, where is the best playmaker in the world? To understand the friction that defined the 2024 season, we have to talk about the quote. Before Caitlin Clark even played a minute in the WNBA, Diana Taurasi, the White Mamba, the greatest winner in the history of the sport, went on SportsCenter with Scott Van Pelt. When asked about what was coming for Clark and the new rookies, Taurasi didn't mince words. She said, "Reality is coming. There's levels to this thing. You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Now, in isolation, this is just a veteran telling the truth. The jump from college to the pros is hard. It's violent. It's fast." Taurasi later clarified that she meant it the same way you talk about a college quarterback going to the NFL. But the tone felt like a warning. It felt like gatekeeping. It felt like the establishment circling the wagons. "Reality is coming" became the rallying cry for Clark's detractors and the fuel for her defenders. And at first, it looked like Taurasi was right. In Clark's first few games, the Fever got crushed. She turned the ball over a lot. The physicality was overwhelming. The welcome to the WNBA moments were coming fast and furious. But then, something happened. The adjustment period that Taurasi said would take time, it happened in real time. By July, Clark was breaking records. By August, she was unguardable. And by September, the narrative had flipped completely. Scott Van Pelt, the man who conducted that original interview, went back on air and corrected the record. He said, "I think Diana Taurasi had it wrong. I think Clark was the reality. I think they should call her the reality because she was coming and she's here in this league." This is the crux of the old guard versus new blood conflict. The veterans spent so much time warning the rookies about the level of the league that they failed to realize the rookies were raising the level of the league around them. Breanna Stewart, another legend, had her own moment with this. Early in the season, she talked about how Clark needed to prove she could sustain success. "She's the best guard in the league," Stewart said later. But initially there was skepticism. Then came the moment that went viral. Clark pulled up for a logo three-pointer, her signature shot with Stewart defending her. She drained it. As they ran back down the court, Clark laughed. Stewart just shrugged. That shrug was everything. It was the moment the old guard realized, okay, she's actually that good. But despite this realization, the Olympic roster remained unchanged. The decision had been made. The reality for Team USA was that they were going to Paris with the oldest roster in their history, betting everything on experience over explosiveness. Let's look at the squad that went to Paris. This was a legacy roster. It was built to honor the past, specifically to get Diana Taurasi her 6th gold medal, a record that would likely never be broken. But legacy doesn't play defense. Legacy doesn't chase 22-year-old French guards around screens. For a decade, Brittany Griner has been the ultimate cheat code for Team USA. You can't teach 6'9". You can't teach that wingspan. In Tokyo 2020, she scored 30 points in the gold medal game and was unstoppable. But the 2024 version of Griner was different. Analysts and fans noticed a significant decline in her mobility. The hop speed and velocity that made her a terror on both ends had diminished. In the modern international game, which is increasingly about spacing, three-point shooting, and transition speed, Griner became a liability in certain matchups. Defensive metrics from the 2024 season showed she struggled to provide quick help defense and was vulnerable when pulled away from the rim. In Paris, coach Cheryl Reeve had to manage her minutes carefully. Against teams like Australia and France, who play fast and physical, Griner couldn't dominate the paint the way she used to. She was a role player, not the anchor. Then there was Chelsea Gray, the point guard. When healthy, she is arguably the best floor general in the world, but she wasn't healthy. Gray missed the first 12 games of the WNBA season, recovering from a foot injury from the previous year's finals. When she returned, she wasn't the same player. Her scoring dropped to just over 11 points per game, and her explosiveness was gone. You could see it in the Olympics. The U.S. offensive often looked stagnant. It lacked the zip, the drive and kick dynamism that makes modern basketball so hard to guard. Gray relied on her elite IQ, but IQ can't always compensate for a foot that won't let you turn the corner against an elite defender. So, if the guards were slow and the center was immobile, how did they win? 2 words: Aja Wilson. We need to be very clear about this. Aja Wilson saved USA basketball from a national embarrassment. She was the one player on the roster in her absolute prime, playing at a level that was transcendent. In the gold medal game, Wilson put up 21 points and 13 rebounds. She blocked shots. She hit mid-range jumpers when the offense collapsed. She was the Atlas holding up the sky. Without Wilson, the veteran strategy fails. Without Wilson, we are talking about a silver medal and a complete dismantling of the USA basketball program. The reliance on her individual brilliance masked the structural flaws of a roster that was too old and too slow for the modern game. While the basketball argument for leaving Clark home was debatable, the business argument was, well, it was a disaster. We live in the Caitlin Clark economy now. The numbers don't lie, and they are staggering. Let's look at the WNBA viewership data from 2024. Games featuring the Indiana Fever averaged 1.26 million viewers. Games without the Fever, they averaged 549,000 viewers. That is more than double. In some cases, it was triple or quadruple. The Fever were the only team consistently drawing NFL-light numbers. CBS reported that their two highest-rated games of the season both involved Clark. Now compare that to the Olympics, the gold medal game, the pinnacle of the sport. USA versus France drew 7.8 million viewers. That sounds good, right? It's a lot of people. But let's look at the context. The 2024 NCAA championship game between Iowa and South Carolina drew 18.9 million viewers. It peaked at 24 million. Even the Final Four game against UConn drew 14.2 million. Do you see the gap? By leaving Clark home, NBC and USA Basketball left roughly 10 million viewers on the table. The argument that fans wouldn't watch if she was on the bench is nonsense. In sports media, anticipation is everything. People would have tuned in just to see if she played. They would have watched for the bench reactions. They would have watched the 10 minutes she did get. Instead, the casual fans, the Clark stans, the people who don't care about the 1996 Dream Team history just didn't tune in. They stayed home. And from a growth perspective, that is a massive missed opportunity. The Olympics is the biggest stage in the world. It's the moment to convert casual fans into hardcore fans. You had the biggest casual fan magnet in the history of women's sports, and you left her in Indiana because you were worried about chemistry. It's bad business, plain and simple. Now let's go back to that game in Paris, because to understand why the old guard era is over, you have to understand just how good the rest of the world has become. France didn't play scared. They played angry. They played with a chip on their shoulder the size of the Eiffel Tower. We mentioned Gabby Williams earlier, the one who hit the buzzer beater. She was a nightmare for Team USA. Williams is a hybrid. She can shoot, she can drive, she can defend. She scored 19 points and was the best player on the floor for long stretches. The US veteran struggled to stay in front of her. She exposed the lack of perimeter speed on the American roster. Every time she touched the ball, you could feel the anxiety in the US defense. Then there was Marine Johannes. If you haven't seen her play, go look up her highlights. She plays like a jazz musician, improvisational, smooth, and completely unpredictable. She has this one-legged three-pointer that makes coaches scream no until it goes in, and then they scream yes. Johannes and Williams have this chemistry that is described as unstoppable. They play a style of basketball that is fluid and fast, the exact opposite of the pounding, physical style the US was trying to impose. The US won by 1 point. In 2012, they beat France in the final by 36 points. In 2016, they blew everyone out. In 2021, they won by 15. Now it's 1 point. The trend line is crashing. The world has caught up. Australia, who won bronze, is right there too. Belgium is right there. The days of showing up and winning by 30 just because the jersey says USA are over. If the United States brings a roster in 2028 that prioritizes legacy over speed, they will lose. It's that simple. So where do we go from here? The scare in Paris has likely accelerated the timeline. The transition can't be gradual anymore. It has to be radical. For the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles on home soil, Team USA must build a team that reflects the modern game. That means the veterans be DM'd approach is coming. The roster has to start with Caitlin Clark. You need her passing. You need her gravity. The way she stretches the floor opens up driving lanes for everyone else. In FIBA play, where the paint is clogged, shooting is premium currency. Clark is the richest player in the world in that currency. Next, you need Angel Reese. Love her or hate her, the woman is a rebounding machine. She led the WNBA in rebounds as a rookie. In international play, second chance points are killer. Reese brings a motor that never stops, and she brings the physicality to match the European bigs. Then you look at the next wave. Sonia Citron and Kiki Iriafen from the Washington Mystics. These two made history as the first rookie teammates to be All-Stars since 1999. Iriafen is a beast on the boards and can score inside. Citron is a two-way wing who can shoot the lights out. They are the perfect complementary pieces. And of course, Paige Buckers, who will be in the league by then. The 2028 roster will likely see the departure of Taurasi, Griner, and probably Chelsea Gray. Aja Wilson and Brianna Stewart will remain as the veteran leaders, the bridge between the generations. But the keys to the car have to be handed over. The offense needs to run through Clark. The defensive identity needs to be built around the length and athleticism of players like Reese and Iriafen. The 2024 Olympics was a paradox. It was a victory, but it felt like a defeat. It was the last gasp of a legendary generation that held on just long enough to see the finish line. But the reality that Diana Taurasi warned us about, it arrived. It just wasn't the reality she expected. The reality is that the world is coming for the throne, and the only way to keep it is to let the kids play. Team USA survived Paris, but to win LA, they have to let the Caitlin Clark era begin. And honestly, it's about DM time.